In today's Take It Day, I want to talk about which player for the Los Angeles Clippers could be the X factor going into this upcoming season. And before we get into that, though, please like, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell just so you can get to do what's in the bonus content first. We put out content every day, so you won't miss any content here. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So when I talk about the Clippers, I talk about a team that has a lot of expectation to me. In my eyes, the Clippers' expectation is championship or bust. Just like the Lakers, just like the Nets, just like a lot of other good teams in the league. But for specifically with this team, with the Clippers, there's a flaw in there somewhere because they're missing the claw. They're missing Kawhi Leonard going into this season. We don't know exactly how long Kawhi Leonard is going to be missing, but we do know it's going to be an X amount of time, and he's doing everything he can to get healthy and get back right for the team. But until then, they have to motivate themselves and push themselves until their best player comes back. Now, when I look at this team, they're loaded from top to bottom. I even said yesterday's video and the video before that, I even mentioned something about their, draft picks and the young players. Shout out to Preston. I think he had to have surgery, but hopefully he can come back healthy. But I even said the Brandon Boston Jr. kid is really, really a surprise so far in the preseason, and he really looks like he's going to be a good fit for the Clippers and what they need coming off the bench when Kawhi and everybody comes back healthy. So I think they got a really good situation with that, and I hope that continues. So when I look at this team, they got a lot of good pieces, and they got a lot of good pieces in every position. You got Paul George, you got Reggie Jackson. Hopefully he can continue the flame that he was, shooting last year. I mean, he was just on fire last year in the playoffs. You got Marcus Morris, who definitely people think highly of and who think can be a lot more consistent, who think can be a little bit more well-driven in those ways. And, you got a lot of players on the team. You got a lot of good individualized talent, and they're all put together by Ty Lue. And really, this is a good opportunity for this team to, go out this season and make a statement and still be a formidable team and get themselves into a playoff position, and give themselves a playoff berth and see what happens with Kawhi Leonard, and hopefully they could take it the distance. But when I look at this team, and when I look at a key factor or X factor of this team that's going to help them be a winning type team, or that could potentially help them be a winning type team going into this season, a lot of people might not look at it, but the person or the player, or should I say the position I'm talking about, is the center position. And that involves Serge Ibaka. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Zubac. I really do. I think Zubac is a really good player. I think he has a really good upside. I understand he has some issues, on defense and things like that. But I do like the way he cuts to the basket. I do like the way he tries to play hard. And I like his offensive rebounding, which really goes unnoticed. And he's not the best offensive rebounder in the league, but he can definitely surprise you and get some second chance buckets for the Clippers. And he's definitely done that in quite a few games I've actually watched him. So, I've definitely noticed the intangibles, the little things with him as well. But to me, the X factor for this team is going to be Serge Ibaka, because unlike Zubac, Serge Ibaka can stretch the floor and knock down threes, and he is money from mid-range, and he is a really good free throw shooter. So when you add somebody like that, who also has been looked at and been known as a defensive prowess, it makes the Clippers a lot more deadlier. Now, I don't think Serge Ibaka is going to come back and play lights out on defense the way he used to, but I still think Serge Ibaka can come out there and give the Clippers a necessary edge or necessary component from the center position that they didn't have last season and pretty much the year prior. So if they can get this out of Serge Ibaka, if they can really get Serge Ibaka on the level of kind of where he was with Toronto Raptors, they really got something going, because that means Kawhi can take his time and come back, because now you got somebody on the floor that's a center who can still give you 2+ blocks a game and drop 17 points a game, shooting a high percentage from three and a high percentage from the mid range and a really, really decent percentage from the 3-point line, and probably somewhere around the mid 80s from the free throw line. So if you have that type of player, do you know how much more dynamic the Clippers can be? I mean, think about it like this. If they played the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs last year, if they had Serge Ibaka, a healthy Serge Ibaka, They beat the Phoenix Suns probably, because how could DeAndre Ayton stop a 17-foot jump shooting big man who can also step out to the 3-point line, who can also knock down free throws, who can also play defense and disrupt some of DeAndre Jordan's momentum, and maybe Devin Booker or whoever comes to the basket. And this is what I'm saying. When you add a player like that with his repertoire coming to the game and adding that to this team, that's only going to make them a much better team. That's only going to make them more complete. And if you look at last season and the year prior, he was the type of player that could have made them more complete. Now, of course, they didn't have the traditional point guard, and I still would like to see them get a traditional point guard, somebody really can rely on, somebody that's a household name in the NBA as a point guard. But I mean, that's not where they are right now, so we can't really speak on that. But when you look at the team, the X factor position to me is the center position. And I know the Clippers are kind of thin there, but at the same time, who knows what they'll get out of Harry Giles. Hopefully he can help, but and Zubac steps in and plays really well. I thought they would bring back DeMarcus Cousins, but they didn't. And somehow that deal didn't fall through, which I really don't know why. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. But at the same time, this team, a lot of what they're going to do offensively and defensively is going to depend on Serge Ibaka, whether people really realize that or not. Because without Kawhi Leonard being there, now you have to have somebody in the starting lineup who is a veteran presence and who knows what winning is all about. And Serge Ibaka knows that. He went to an NBA Finals with OKC. And he went to an NBA Finals and won it with Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. So he knows about winning. He knows what it takes. He knows the little things. He knows the intangibles. He knows the game from a different perspective than Paul George. Even though Paul George is your superstar, your number one guy because Kawhi Leonard's out. But Paul George has never won an MVP. He's never won a championship. He's never been in the finals. He's never done those things. So Paul George mentally can only push the team, but so far, because there's not much that he knows about winning. And I like Paul George, and I believe he's going to have a really good season. But at the same time, him having a good season could mean that he has really good numbers. It don't mean they're going to equate to wins. Because as I said a couple videos ago the other day, Paul George has a couple areas I think he needs to improve on to help a team really get over that hump and sustain what the Clippers are, what they were last year, to keep them afloat until Kawhi Leonard comes back. Because, it's the season gets harder as it goes further. The teams get harder, the journey gets harder, and the wear and tear on your body becomes more evident. And these things are just a part of the game that most people, may not look at or understand, but that's just the way it is. If you're a basketball fan or a basketball guru, whatever, analyst, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever you are out there, then you understand those things. And this is what I'm saying. You have to have valuable pieces in your starting lineup and on your team. And in your starting lineup, if you have a player like Serge Ibaka who can stretch the floor and play defense, play both sides of the floor, you have a very, very formidable player that can scare a lot of teams when they play you, because a lot of teams can't plan for a Serge Ibaka because you don't know if Paul George is going to go off for 30. You don't know if Reggie Jackson will go off for 25 or Marcus Morris for 25. Then you got to worry about Serge Ibaka killing you from mid-range and knocking down threes, stretching the floor, making the opposing team's big man step out of his comfort zone. Now, Serge Ibaka can make a pass, which he's always been underrated at as well, make a pass and somebody can cut to the basket and get an easy layup. See, it's little things like that Serge Ibaka can do that Zubac can't do. And this is why I said him and Zubac in the center position is going to be one of the most, if not the most important position for the Clippers this season, in which that's the most important position that they need to actually thrive and play really well, to play with continuous winning, intangibles. Because if they want to be a winning team, they want to be 5th, 6th seed in the West or whatever they're trying to, whatever they can get at. If they want to be that, they're going to have another player who can stretch the floor and make them a dangerous team from a different angle. Everybody going into this season, everybody knows Reggie Jackson going to eat and Paul George going to eat. And Marcus Morris might eat at times. But who's going to be really that solidified third player who can get you consistent points, play both sides of the floor, and make an impact? It's going to be Serge Ibaka if he can stay healthy. And that's just the way it is. He's going to have to be that third player, and he's definitely capable enough of doing that when healthy, because people have seen him do that in his career. And this is one of those opportunities where Serge Ibaka can come back and show everybody he's still got a little something left, maybe 1 or 2 good years left in him. And maybe the Clippers could go ahead and make a run, especially when they get my guy, the guy, Kawhi Leonard back, the Claw. Because I think if you add him with this mix of Paul George and Reggie Jackson can continue playing the way he played last year, and if they can just get some consistency out of Marcus Morris, it don't have to be 14 points a game. If they can get 12 points a game out of Marcus Morris, as long as it's consistent and as long as it's when they need it most. And the reason why I say 12 points, I'm speaking in regards of when Kawhi Leonard comes back. Now, of course, before Kawhi Leonard gets there, they need at least 15 points out of him, going into every game consistently. So, of course, that's going to dip maybe a little bit when Kawhi comes back because, like I said, Kawhi is the best player, and that's just the way it is. Big dog got to eat, so he got to get his. So we understand that. But it doesn't mean consistency still shouldn't be there from the other players on the team. And Marcus Morris is one of them players that a lot of people and a lot of Clipper fans look at as being a consistent two-way player. Play defense on one end and knock down big shots on the other. That's exactly what they pay him for. So this is what they need out of him, and this is what the Clippers should expect as an organization. But I'm telling you, you may not look at it this way, and I definitely respect the fact if you don't look at it this way. But I'm telling you, the X factor for the Clippers, well, one of the X factors, if you want to say that, is going to have to be the center position, because to me, that's the thinnest position they have, and to me, that's the most vital position that they have that can be that solidified third piece. Because like I said, if Marcus Morris comes in the season and be inconsistent as he usually is, or play consistent for a while and go back to his inconsistency ways, who's going to be that third scorer until Kawhi Leonard come back? Who's going to be that third consistent guy? It's going to have to be Serge Ibaka, because he's the only other guy on the floor that knows the game from a different angle, a different perspective, and knows how to win. And he's the only other guy on the floor that is a threat to a lot of other teams. A lot of other teams, let's just face it, they're not threatened by Terrence Mann. Even though I like Terrence Mann, I think he's going to be a breakout type player in this league, but other teams aren't threatened by him. Other teams aren't really threatened by Marcus Morris because of the inconsistency. Other teams aren't threatened by Luke Kennard. Other teams aren't threatened by Zubac. You see what I'm saying? You have to, when you play against a team in the NBA or any team as the opposing team, you look at the main pieces and the threats that can hurt you. And when you look at the Clippers, the way they're constructed right now, it's going to be PG, hopefully, definitely Reggie Jackson, which I believe it will, and it's going to have to be Serge Ibaka. Those are going to be their 3 key cogs that have to go into every game and be a threat to every team that they play. Because the center position is big because of guarding the paint defense. If you can stop teams from getting in the paint and make them a jump shooting team one-dimensional, you have a good chance of beating them, especially if your team is really formidable. So now you have that in a Serge Ibaka if he's healthy, if his back is 100% ready to go, but you also got a knockdown shooter as well. And you also got a clutch, maybe not 100, maybe I shouldn't say clutch, but you have a really, really good free throw shooter in a big man that can take and make big free throws in the fourth quarter as well. And this is what I'm saying. That's a key position for the Clippers, and he is a key player for the Clippers to stay afloat and be a good team in the Western Conference this year. And I definitely think if he can stay healthy, he will bring them wonders that they haven't had in the last couple seasons. Because I personally think if they had a Serge Ibaka against the Nuggets 2 years ago in the bubble, they beat them. Because Serge Ibaka is going to bother a Jokic. He can't stop him, but he's going to bother him. And he's also going to make Jokic play defense, because Jokic can step out and knock down a 3, unlike Montrezl Harrell couldn't. Last season, Serge Ibaka, like I said, against the Suns, DeAndre Ayton will have to play more defense, because Serge Ibaka is able to knock down jumpers, 3-pointers, free throws, and he can disrupt some stuff on the defensive end. So he's going to make him work a lot harder for his points. And this is what I'm talking about. That's why I say the center position is a key position for the Clippers going into this season. They definitely need production out of it. And mainly and mostly, If they can keep Serge healthy, they're definitely going to need that production out of him because he is one of the focal points on this team going into this season that a lot of people are not speaking about, or maybe one of them unsung heroes possibly going into the season that a lot of people are not speaking on, or maybe he's going unnoticed. But hey, that's my take on the situation. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know if you think Serge Ibaka in the center position is one of those positions that is a vital key to the Clippers' success in the regular season, at least until Kawhi Leonard comes back. Or if you feel any different, put any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. We'll engage about it as we always do. And hey, Cali out.